Hi student, myself Varsha Rawade, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, Muna Education Societies, Arts, Commerce and Science College, Sone. The subject of discussion is Advanced Ecology. The class MSc Second Year Botany. The topic of discussion is the threats of biodiversity. First, we discuss the definition of biodiversity. The biodiversity refers to the sum total of all the variety and the variability of the life in a definite area. Means biodiversity is the variety of life present on a particular or the definite area. This is known as the biodiversity. There are different threats of the biodiversity. First one, habitat loss or the fragmentation. Second one, invasive or the exotic species. Third one, overexploitation. Fourth one, population and the climate change. These are the some biodiversity threats present in the ecology. This is responsible for the loss of the biodiversity in a world. The most obvious manifestation of a biodiversity loss is the extinction of a species. For the extinction of a species, there will be different causes of the extinction of a species. This is a natural phenomenon in which the species have been going extinct since life began. Indeed, it is estimated that many more species have gone extinct than extinct at the present. So first one by one we discuss the different threats of the biodiversity. In that, first one is the habitat loss and the fragmentation. Habitat loss from exploitation of resources, agricultural conversion and urbanization is the largest factor contributing to the loss of biodiversity. In the habitat loss, first one example is urbanization. Due to urbanization, the different species, plants will be extinct. The consequent fragmentation of a habitat result in the small isolated patches of the land and that cannot maintain the population of a species into a future. The habitat fragmentations means the breaking apart, means the one continuous habitat is distinct into the pieces. In that, the loss of habitat is the primary reason for the loss of the biodiversity. When the people cut down the trees, fill a wetland, plug grassland or burn a forest, due to this reason, the natural habitat of a species is changed or sometime it will be destroyed. This change can kill or force out many plant, animals and the microorganisms as well as disrupt the complex interaction among the species. With the help of fragmentation of a large forest tract, species occupying deeper part of the forest are the first to disappear. the plant and animal population are destroyed or displaced, it leads to the loss of biodiversity. So, in that, the habitat loss and the fragmentation, the most loss of biodiversity reasons are the urbanization or sometime the agricultural convergence. Next one reason or the next one threats is the invasive species. The invasive species, it is also called as the introduced species, exotic or non-native species. In that, many kinds of living organisms or sometimes species that is not native to an ecosystem, and then in which it has the tendency to damage the ecosystem, means some organism or the species it introduced to the other habitat and it loss or the damage the ecosystem or that habitat biodiversity. The common characteristic of invasive species includes the rapid reproduction and the growth, high dispersal ability, phenotypic plasticity, and the ability to survive on the various food types. And it will be wide range of the environmental conditions. These invasive species or the exotic species are reproduce quickly. It grow quickly and spread aggressively, and with potentials to cause the harm to the other species. These invasive species are capable of causing extinction of native plant. By these invasive species are competing with them with the native species, and due to limited resources and alternating habitat, the native species leading to loss of diversity. Sometimes these invasive species are suddenly introduced to the given ecosystem. The example of these invasive species is the accidental introduction of Atlantic comb jellyfish species to the Black Sea. This is the most important examples in the invasive species. The overall explanation of these exotic species are the species which introduce into the ecosystem without their co-evolved predators, and these are enable an alien invader to out complete native species. For the ecological requirement, these species are compete with the native species and it lost the native species. The third one, threats of biodiversity, is the pollution. The pollution will be occurs through the burning of fossil fuels such as oil, coal and gas can remain in the air as the particles, pollutant, or fall to the ground as the acid rains. Sometimes the population will be occurs with the help of vehicles, some human activities. The population will be increases in the ecosystem, and this population will goes increase day by day. It cause the acid rain effect. The acid rain, which is a primary composed of sulfuric and the nitric acid. This sulfuric and the nitric acids cause the acidification of lakes, streams, and the sensitive forest soils, and contribute to slower forest growth, and trees will be damaged at the high elevations. Means this population cause the effect on the plants, and due to this effect the biodiversity will be lost. This is the example or the diagram which shows the human activity will increase the population. The excess amount of sources will be help for the population, and this population will lose the biodiversity. Fourth one, threats of the biodiversity is the climate change. The link between climate change and the biodiversity has long been established. Although through the Earth's history the climate has always changed, but the rapid climate change due to the man-made activities. The man-made activity affects the species' ability to adapt, and so the biodiversity will be lost. Means some human activities will affect on the species, and this species will shows the less ability to adapt some environment, and the species could not adapt to that environment. The species will be lost or the extinct. In addition to the global warming, more frequent extreme weather and changing pattern of the rainfall. Sometimes the drought has significant impact on the biodiversity. In global climate change, the gas carbon dioxide released from burning fossil fuels and the biomass, sometimes deforestation and the agricultural practices contribute to the greenhouse gases. With increasing the temperature expected from increasing the greenhouse gases. The fifth one, threats of biodiversity, is the overexploitation. The human activity such as the logging, farming and the fishing can be done sustainably, but they are often done in the way that overexploit a resource. The term overexploitation refers to the human activity. The human activity is connected with the excessive capturing and the harvesting, fishing farming of organisms. According to IUCN, it is an exploitation of a natural population at the rate greater than the population is able to match with own requirement. Sometimes overexploitation is refers to the removal of individual or biomass from the natural population. When too many species or even just a few important species are taken out from the ecosystem due to taken out of one important species from the whole ecosystem, the network of life in that particular area can be collapsed. The overexploitation can also result from incidental exploitation. It means catching the species accidentally while harvesting other target species. The example of this overexploitation is the African elephant. This is the classic example of the overexploitation, in that the overhunting of the African elephant largely because of the trades in ivory. The elephant population have been declined in most of the region of the Africa. Thank you.